Hey nerds, so I'm going to talk about Ben Burgis again, I guess you could say my favorite socialist political philosopher who I've talked with before a few times on this channel, and is a political commentator and writer and author as well. And I don't agree with all of his opinions, but I like learning about philosophy from him, and he has like actually interesting and sophisticated opinions on philosophy that are actually correct, unlike stupid public pseudo-intellectual crackpots like Jordan Peterson and James Lindsay and Brett Weinstein and all the rest of those idiots. But anyway, they're talking about he and company on his show, other people, I forget what their names are, but they do a regular show. Anyway, they're talking about Ayn Rand, of course, famous objectivist, invented her own philosophy called objectivism, which is actually really fucking stupid and just confused about philosophy. Objectivist / libertarian philosopher. And it reminds me of this video I did recently commenting on that podcast, famous podcaster and Joe Rogan sycophant who talks in a really monotone voice, Lex Fridman, and pretends to want everyone to get everyone to love each other. And he was talking with this libertarian historian who was talking about Ayn Rand's life and basically describing how Ayn Rand became a cult leader, and people like Murray Rothbard who followed her were sycophants to her cult, her godlike status in the cult. And then eventually they had this idea that Ayn Rand had the objectively correct opinion about like what art to have in a room or what dining room table to have. And then like people like her and Murray Rothbard had a falling out, and then he became, I don't know, like arguably one of the first anarcho-capitalists, although he didn't use that term, but he's like an idol of so-called anarcho-capitalist, but now Trump sycophant, but also he's at least criticizing Trump's war shit, Dave Smith. So he's a hero of Dave Smith, and he literally wanted to privatize sidewalks. I thought that was bullshit, but someone on the internet corrected me about that. So Murray Rothbard split off from Ayn Rand and started his own separate cult. So all this like libertarianism, objectivism shit, or at least objectivism in particular, is really fucking culty. And a lot of libertarians distinguish themselves from libertarian objectivists. But I mean, if you're a follower of Murray Rothbard, that's not really that different from Randian objectivism. But anyway, that's all a long tangent here, so let's get into the clip.
And her young niece,
I don't know why I need to turn up the volume here,
was like, could I borrow $25 for a dress? And her response is like, you are very young, so I don't know whether you realize the seriousness of your actions in writing me for money. Since I don't know you at all, I'm going to put you to the test.
Let's start this over.
And I think at this point, Ayn Rand was famous and had a lot of money. In 1949, her young niece, was like, could I borrow $25 for a dress? And her response is like, you are very young, so I don't know whether you realize the seriousness of your actions in writing me for money. Since I don't know you at all, I'm going to put you to the test. If you really want to borrow $25 from me, I will take a chance on finding out what kind of person you are. You want to borrow money until your graduation? I will do better than that. I will make it easier if you repay your debt on condition that you understand and accept it as a very strict and serious business deal. Before you borrow it, I want you to think it over carefully. And then she goes on and gives like a business plan, and then like says a bunch of stuff about how she's going to disown her and consider her an embezzler if she doesn't care. And also said that she's not going to call the police, but will write her off as a quote rotten person. Awesome. And I think at this point, Ayn Rand was famous and had a lot of money. In 1949, her young niece.
That's hilarious. It really shows you how much objectivism, Randian objectivism in particular, is a fucking cult. And she's really confused about philosophy and doesn't know what she's talking about in terms of, Aristotle and objectivism in general, and gets Kant confused, gets Bertrand Russell wrong, etc., etc. And obviously, like I said, Murray Rothbard split off from her and started his own cult. So all this Ayn Rand libertarian objectivism shit is really fucking culty. And it's so fucking hilariously stupid that she was rich at this point, and Ayn Rand couldn't just give her niece $25. She had to make it all this like serious document for borrowing $25 and making it a serious issue to pay back on your loan, and I'll make it easy for you. Or you could just give her the fucking $25 since you probably have millions at this point. But, you know, Ayn Rand, like Randian objectivism is even more culty than libertarianism, in my opinion. But if you're devoted to someone like Murray Rothbard, like David Smith is, you're also a cult follower. So I'd say anarcho-capitalist, but in particular, more than anyone else, if you're talking about these libertarian types of people, I would say that more than anyone else, the Randian libertarian objectivists are the most cult-like of all of them. And probably a lot of libertarians or even anarcho-capitalists would agree with me about that, but I don't want to speak for them. Anyway, yeah, Ayn Rand was a fucking cult leader. So was Murray Rothbard. Ayn Randian objectivism is a cult. And yeah, Ayn Rand was a fucking greedy cult leader.